the 1011 Viking capture of Canterbury and the imprisonment of Archbishop Ælfheah. In the early 11th century, England was a land frequently ravaged by Viking incursions. These raids, characterized by their ferocity and ruthless efficiency, targeted both the wealth and the spiritual heart of the Anglo-Saxon realm. One of the most significant of these attacks occurred in 1011, when a force of Viking invaders laid siege to Canterbury, captured the city, and took the Archbishop of Canterbury, Ælfheah, as their prisoner. This event not only highlighted the vulnerability of England's defences but also marked a turning point in the relationship between the Anglo-Saxons and the Danes, contributing to the eventual rise of Danish rule over England. Background: a time of turmoil. By the early 11th century, England was no stranger to Viking raids. Beginning with the infamous attack on Lindisfarne in 793, waves of Scandinavian warriors had launched assaults on English shores for over 2 centuries. Under the reign of King Ethelred II, known as Ethelred the Unready, the kingdom was in a particularly precarious position. Ethelred's reign was marked by internal political strife, disorganization, and a series of costly Danegeld payments to appease the Viking raiders. Despite these payments, the Vikings continued to launch devastating attacks, leading to a period of prolonged instability and suffering for the English people. In 1009, the situation worsened when a massive Viking fleet, led by the warlord Thorkel the Tall, landed in England. Thorkel's forces ravaged the English countryside, moving from region to region, plundering towns and monasteries. In 1011 they set their sights on Canterbury, one of the most important cities in the Anglo-Saxon realm. The siege and capture of Canterbury. The siege of Canterbury in 1011 was a well-coordinated assault. The Viking forces, likely numbering in the thousands, surrounded the city and cut off any potential reinforcements. According to the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, Canterbury held out for approximately 20 days before treachery from within the city walls led to its downfall. A man named Ælfheah, who may have been an Anglo-Saxon noble or even a cleric, is said to have betrayed the city, opening the gates to the Viking horde. Once inside, the Vikings unleashed a torrent of destruction, slaughtering many of the city's inhabitants and burning much of Canterbury to the ground. The Vikings were not only interested in plunder and devastation, they also sought valuable hostages to hold for ransom. Among those captured was Archbishop Ælfheah, one of the highest-ranking ecclesiastical figures in England. Ælfheah's capture was a devastating blow to the English Church and the Anglo-Saxon leadership, as he was not only a spiritual leader but also a symbol of English resistance against the Viking invaders. Archbishop Ælfheah, a martyr for the English Church. Archbishop Ælfheah, also known as Saint Ælfheah, was a respected figure in Anglo-Saxon England. He had served as Bishop of Winchester before becoming Archbishop of Canterbury in 1006. Ælfheah was known for his piety, his commitment to the poor, and his resistance to the Viking incursions. When Canterbury fell, the Vikings saw Ælfheah as a highly valuable hostage, expecting a large ransom from King Ethelred or the English Church. However, Ælfheah refused to allow his people to pay the exorbitant ransom demanded by the Vikings, which was set at £3,000 of silver. He argued that such a payment would further impoverish an already suffering population. His steadfastness and refusal to be ransomed angered the Viking leaders, who saw his resistance as an affront to their power and authority. According to accounts from the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle and the writings of later chroniclers, Ælfheah was held captive for 7 months, enduring harsh conditions and maltreatment at the hands of his captors. During his captivity, Ælfheah continued to minister to his fellow captives, offering comfort and spiritual guidance. His strength of character and refusal to capitulate made him a revered figure among the English people. In April 1012, the situation reached a boiling point. The Vikings, frustrated by the lack of payment and driven by a combination of anger and drunken revelry, dragged Ælfheah before their assembly at Greenwich. There, they subjected him to a brutal execution. According to the sources, Ælfheah was pelted with ox bones, stones, and other missiles before being struck on the head with the butt of an axe by a Viking named Thrum. He died almost instantly, becoming one of the earliest martyrs of the English Church. Aftermath and impact. The death of Archbishop Ælfheah shocked both the English and the Viking communities. Even Thorkel the Tall, the Viking leader, is said to have been appalled by the manner of Ælfheah's death. Thorkel, who may have admired Ælfheah's courage and integrity, reportedly switched allegiances after the archbishop's death, entering the service of King Ethelred and later becoming one of the most influential figures in the English court. Ælfheah's martyrdom became a rallying point for the English Church and a symbol of resistance against the Vikings. In 1078, Ælfheah was canonized as a saint, and his relics were later moved to Canterbury Cathedral, where he was honored as a patron of the city. The events of 1011 to 1012 also had broader implications for England's political landscape. The ongoing Viking incursions, coupled with the perceived weakness of Ethelred's rule, eventually led to the conquest of England by King Sweyn Forkbeard in 1013. Though Sweyn's reign was short-lived, it paved the way for his son, Canute the Great, to establish a lasting Danish dynasty over England from 1016 to 1035. The Viking capture of Canterbury and the imprisonment and execution of Archbishop Ælfheah in 1011 were pivotal moments in the history of Anglo-Saxon England. They underscored the vulnerability of England's defences, the ruthless nature of the Viking invaders, and the deepening crisis of leadership under King Ethelred's reign. Ælfheah's martyrdom, however, left a lasting legacy of courage and faith, becoming a beacon of hope for the English people during one of the darkest periods of their history. His sacrifice highlighted the resilience of the English Church and helped to shape the narrative of resistance against foreign domination, ultimately contributing to the complex relationship between the Anglo-Saxons and the Danes in the years to come. Thanks for listening. Like and comment. Don't forget to check out our next video. There's so much more to uncover about the Middle Ages. And make sure that you subscribe to Medieval Chronicles 1066. Stay curious.